What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Will Edwards with an S at the end. How you doing, Will?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, my invite didn't have my S on my last name. We got it figured out. Good to go.
Right, exactly. So I always try and repeat any detail like that. It helps me remember personally.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that's not why you're here. You're not here to learn how I remember stuff. You're here because this is a chance encounter, and what I do is I interview commercial real estate investors, and I go through the 5 different motivations I found commercial investors have for increasing the size of their portfolio, and I say, well, which one's you? And then I go through the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. When you can get your own one at dandoesdeals.com. That's the thing up here in the corner. You can go there and download your own one, print it out, and the thing that's in it for you is you can actually explain it to your friends and your family. You know, I explained it to my 8-year-old before, so it's trying to make it as straightforward as we possibly can. But I ask my guests, which one of these is you? What's your core competency that you're most likely to contribute? But the effective communication in the field of commercial real estate is so important, and the biggest difference you can make as far as making sure that you're going to do well in this industry is being able to introduce yourself well. So, Will, can you introduce yourself for the audience now that I've totally stoked you up?
Yeah, absolutely. I sure can. Hey, my name is Will Edwards. I live in Plano, Texas, just north of Dallas. Have a background working for a large property management company here in Dallas. That's kind of what got me in the multifamily space. And currently in my W-2 job, I manage about 300 offices for a home health and hospice agency based here in Dallas, offices across the country. Specifically, I manage all of our general contractors, all of our facilities management and things like that. So still looking for that first multifamily deal, but looking to use my expertise with asset management, construction management. You'll kind of hit on that here in just a minute to provide some value to a general partnership team. So.
All right, beautiful. So let's do the motivation piece. This is the one that I start with because sometimes we will have noobs on here, and if I hit this, boink, there it is. Why do you want part of an apartment complex? I'm going to have to update that one of these days because it's not necessarily an apartment complex. Some people who come on here and self-storage, different things like that. But if you're a newbie, you'll know why you're doing it, but you don't necessarily know what role you're going to be doing. So let's go through these motivations once my cursor decides to do what it's supposed to. And the first motivation is to preserve your purchasing power. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you have a nest egg of wealth and you depend on the cash flow that comes from it to make ends meet, when inflation rears its ugly head, you got yourself a problem. So you need to keep on making acquisitions to make sure that you're staving off inflation. So that's the first motivation. The next motivation is my one. I have a background in the CRM business. Specifically, it was the e-commerce CRM businesses with all their emailing, 5 million emails a month, all that kind of stuff. And the problem with being in a salary job or a wage earner or whatever is you're paying heavier amounts of tax than anybody else. So if you're a kind of person like me, you'll be like, well, wait a second. If I start working and getting rewarded in the form of equity, then I get that preferred tax status and I'm not giving half of my money to the government. And that's cool. So that's what I'm up to. I'm pivoting into trading my time for wealth instead of just a salary or wages. That's what I'm up to. The next group, though, they are the most common. This is the most common answer as far as why people are doing it. They're fast tracking the retirement. In other words, they're getting educated. They're learning how to put their wealth into these different assets that cash flow instead of just, instruments at a bank or whatever. But there's something that's implied when they say fast track retirement, and that is that there's an end in sight. Okay, so there's a time that in their mind's eye where maybe they want to move someplace with a low cost of living or something, and so that way they just have to do almost nothing. They're looking for a time where they're only working like 1 day a week, 1 day a month, 1 day however per quarter, whatever it is. That's fast tracking the retirement, and that's different from the next people. They're so ambitious, they want to buy their entire hometown, so they're the type who just wish there were 8 days in a week and 30 hours in a day because they'd work them all. So these are handy people to have around. Maybe they're looking for generational wealth, so they want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to get a day job. But that is in contrast to the next group, which they in some form they want to give it all away, but at least they realize that accumulating wealth is by far the most effective vehicle for making a big impact on society. So some people, they pick a group of society, some people it's the environment, some people it's animals, but they're looking to do more. And so they realize that accumulation of wealth is by far the best vehicle to make that impact. So out of those 5 different motivations, Will, which describe you best as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of a couple of them, right? For most of us, that's going to be the case, but I definitely think trading time for money, obviously trying to get out of the rat race of a W-2 job and use those skills to be able to free up some time to spend time with family. I've got 2 young kids, would love to be able to just have that time freedom in order to do that. But also more importantly, I think using these resources to have a bigger impact than myself. I mean, you talked about that there last, but that's definitely a big motivation for me, making sure that people understand that just because I have money doesn't mean that I want to hold on to it, nor do I feel like it's mine to begin with. I feel like it has been blessed to me. And so whatever resources I'm able to steward, I would love to use those for kingdom purposes and inhabit and impact the lives of people that live at the properties that I would own and manage in a way that's going to be different than some other landlords are going to do. It's easy to find people that are doing it just for the money, but it's harder to find people that have an altruistic impact and altruistic motivation for owning properties. So.
All right, beautiful. So let's go through the core competencies and the different roles. Again, you can go to dandoesdeals.com, download your own, print it out, and that one will look prettier than this one. I'm already upgrading this, but we'll make that happen. So for those of you in the audience who don't really know commercial deals, you'll love this because I'm taking it right from first principles, right from day one. And the way I do that is I introduce what a repositioner is. A repositioner is a person who looks at a whole whack of different properties. And why are they looking at them? And what are they doing? Well, first of all, they're underwriting, which means they're doing the math, okay? And one of the reasons they're doing the math is they're making acquisitions here, right? So they need to make sure that the person who's selling it, they have to make sure that the property is actually making the amount of money that they say it is in the first place. But the other thing that they're looking for when they're looking at all these different properties is they're looking for upside. And they have 2 main tools in their toolbox as far as upside. One is through more efficient operations. They cut those costs. They stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet there. And, there's also like a marketing piece here as far as that's what the leasing agent does, which means that they are making sure that the vacancy rate is low. But, cutting those costs, it's more than just, bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff. And efficient operations will only get you so far. Right now, real estate's super duper hot. So repositioners also can get a contractor team to fix the place up. And then that way they can charge more in rent. And that's real upside, right? But there's a problem with this whole idea of being a repositioner if you're like me, because I'm from the internet. And so that means if there's a problem, or if I want to take a look at how the contractor's doing or how the operators are doing or something like that, it's not going to be so easy for me. So I need a local. I need boots on the ground, somebody who can check in and be there in a short notice, make sure that the contractors are doing their stuff on time, and making sure that the operators are doing their stuff at all. And if you're a tenant, you probably look at those four guys and you're like, oh, okay, well, those are the owners. But of course, there's more to it than that. There's the financiers, there's the capital raisers, there's the banks, they're financiers. And what they're going to want to know is more than just this. They're going to want to know who's the sponsor, who's the KP, who's the person who already owns a similar asset, because the bank's going to want to know. They're going to need somebody to be in there to do it. And so that means, like, even if you're Elon Musk, if you want to buy like a 450 unit apartment complex and you want to get a loan, somebody in the deal has to already own a similar asset. And there also has to be a certain amount of liquidity, and there also has to be a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you've got all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Will, out of those different roles there, where's your core competency that you're most likely to contribute?
Yeah, my background, like I said at the beginning, is in it's construction management and general contractor management, but currently doing that for office space. But definitely understand the real estate game. I used to be a turns manager for about 1,000 units here in Dallas. So managing those contractors and operations really is going to be my core competency. The fact that I'm in Texas is really beneficial to a lot of people out of state, being able to provide that boots on the ground for a variety of markets that are very hot, especially here in DFW. And Austin's only 3.5 hours away. So, having boots on the ground there is going to be key, and somebody that's trustworthy and reliable and able to give you accurate information on what they're actually seeing, that has spent time walking properties, doing inspections, things like that, is key to a team. And so those are really the things that I bring to the table, able to manage those contractors, make sure they're operating on time and under budget is the goal there, and holding them accountable. And then also making sure that, operations wise, we're doing things that are wise and are able to provide good value to tenants, but also still be efficient in the way that we're using resources and capital in those properties.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And for you in the audience, I hope you enjoyed two things. One, you can tell he's actually from Texas because he said the word only, followed by 3.5 hours to measure distance. That's something Texans and Canadians do. But I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. But the other thing, too, that I wanted to mention is that, like why I have my guests repeat themselves. And that's because I know that virtual assistants watch these series and they're actually told, it's like, okay, I need you to put in the answer to this question here and all that kind of stuff. So let's wave and say hi to all the virtual assistants. Hi, virtual assistants. All right, great. So that's really, really awesome. And as far as a buy box goes, like ideal properties, so that's geographic area. Okay, that's the unit count and the class. What's your real sweet spots as far as easier to say yes to and more difficult to say no to?
Yeah, I think 100 unit plus gives you that ability to have on-site property management ability. That's kind of the threshold, right? Is 100 units. And so I think that's a real key, is having somebody that's there that you can put a lot of the responsibility onto for being at that property all the time. 100 unit plus, I'd say B and C class properties is kind of the target for me and for a lot of others in the space as well, but for good reason, right? And being able to go in and do some value add on those properties, continuing to see a lot of that type of asset being available here in the DFW market and across Texas as a whole. But those are really the sweet spots there, I think. And so yeah, region wise, like I said, DFW is all, secondary and tertiary markets around DFW. So Tyler, Denton, down into Waco, that sort of area. DFW proper, you're going to get some pretty high property taxes in there, but some of the surrounding counties, you have a little bit less property taxes, and can still find some good meat on the bones as far as properties in those areas. And so mom and pop type properties. So that's kind of the target, size, asset class, and area that, I'm looking for and targeting. So.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And we ended up meeting through, I think it was Yona Weiss's challenge, right? And yep. So that's through LinkedIn. And is LinkedIn the best way to reach out to you, or is there a website that's better?
No, LinkedIn is going to be a great way to get in contact with me. shoot me an email. It's just will@humbleoakcapital.com. You can call me, text me, whatever is easiest. My phone number is 859-559-9191. A lot of nines in there, a lot of ones. And so, yeah, that's a super easy way to get me there. LinkedIn is just Will Edwards. And yeah, I'm getting to be more active. I think Jonas prompted a lot of that. It's just like getting out of my shell and being able to produce content that's, engaging and things like that. So happy to connect and see how we can partner. So.
All right. Awesome. And for those of you in the audience who don't know me, my background is in the CRM, specifically the e-commerce CRM system. So that's emailing like crazy and all that sort of stuff. The 506B me after this thing, that is to document your relationships for 506B purposes, because it's something that CRMs do a very, very bad job of it. And I'm always up for a party, so I might as well be your third party. But speaking of which, if you like it to be a party, I have something else to say to you in the audience, which is, if you look under here somewhere, there's a red button and it says subscribe, and it makes me so angry and sad. I don't know what to do, but the only way to kill this awful red button is to click on it, and then it turns gray. And that means YouTube pays for these videos instead of me. And that's better. So pretty please with sugar on top. Please click on that button. That's very, very important. Will, who's the best person to reach out to you? And don't break any SEC rules. So you can't entice investors. But as far as like people who should reach out to you, who are you best suited to help?
Yeah, I'm best suited to help those people that have a few deals under the belt, right? Not somebody that's doing, has, 1,000 doors, right? Or 10,000 doors. I think that you probably have your own systems in place for that, but somebody who's starting out, done 2 or 3 deals, would love to, continue to see how your systems are, what your systems are that you currently have in place, and how we can improve those, and how we can continue to implement some of that value add strategy and business plan that maybe you've created, but haven't implemented yet because rents are still rising, but realizing that, man, in the next couple of years, we're going to need to implement some of this value add strategy that we underwrote from the beginning. And so if you're that type of person, would love to help you out, especially in Texas markets, but can be wherever is most helpful. So.
All right, sweet. So now you know why you should reach out to Will, and you also still know that you should take a second and hit that subscribe button. But Will, you've done me a huge favor by joining me today, just like the person in the camera has done by hitting subscribe. So thank you so much for joining me and getting to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Dan. I appreciate it.
Sweet. Thanks.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. For Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious, and he makes it easy to come on with his questions, and has a great setup. It's easy, it's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy, a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can, just reach out to him.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the chance encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love chance encounters.